Yes, I've been gone for 2 months. Yes, I'm back now, and no, I will not be explaining myself. Fuck you. Today, I seek to answer perhaps the greatest mystery in Arknights history to date. Does Mon3tr lay eggs? No. Are you sure? Yes. Are you positive? Who cares about a... Way back during the Delicious and Dungeon collab event, one man went out of his way to sexually harass the women of Rhodes Island by probing their means of reproduction. In the name of science. Or degeneracy, it's basically the same thing. Chief among Laios' victims was the unfortunate Mon3tr, who notably did not provide Laios with a proper response due to her still being locked inside of her crystalline form at this point in time. But perhaps Laios was onto something here. Or he really is just a freak. Realistically, it's probably the latter, but on the off chance it's anything but, let's do some investigation, for the sake of a Mon3tr omelet. The logical first place to start is with a baseline, aka are there any races or individuals on Terra that do lay eggs? No. That means this is the first and last easy answer we're gonna get out of this video, so savor it. I hate to debunk your dreams of one day tasting a homegrown side of scrambled via meta excrement, but canonically all Terrans are mammalian, which you should have already known because they have tits. That's about as mammal as you can get. That's unfortunate for our purposes because it doesn't give us too much of a springboard, especially given that Mon3tr has a Terran form herself. But wait, if Mon3tr is a Terran and Terrans procreate through live birth, then isn't that our answer right there? Well, yes. If I was a coward, Mon3tr is unique among Terrans because she has a secondary form, a build she was only able to shed after Calcet was Thanos snapped into the Shadow Realm. As a humanoid, we can reasonably conjoin her biology with that of most other Terrans, but her animalistic form may be worth looking into, especially since that was her appearance when she was initially approached by Laios. It shouldn't come as too terrible a surprise to learn that live birth is a bit of a rarity in the animal kingdom, at least by statistics alone. 99% of sexually reproducing life on planet Earth make do with eggs. It's basically just mammals, a few species of fish, and some reptiles that don't. So statistically, our odds of Mon3tr laying eggs should be relatively high. This is Mon3tr's, well, monstrous form. In order to categorize her animalian family, we're gonna have to hyperanalyze her physical being, since that's really all we have to go off of. Mon3tr is described as a mysterious crystalline entity, and the wiki goes further to refer to her as lizard-like. Of course, we can't take that at face value, but it's worth holding on to. The first and most important thing that jumps out about Mon3tr's design is her body/tail. It's not really clear where the torso ends and the tail begins, but that doesn't really matter. Notice how this area bends. That implies the existence of a vertebral segmentation, or spinal cord. But on the other hand, Mon3tr also seems to wear attributes typically associated with invertebrates. Her claws consist of a material, in this case green crystal clumps, that remain uniform with the rest of her body. That seems to suggest that this big ol' explosion on her back could actually be a carapace. Her fangs, or more accurately mandibles, also support this. However, these traits are not explicitly insectoid. If you look closely, Mon3tr's claws are attached to her body pretty loosely by what appears to be only one hinge joint. That's interesting because we have plenty of real-world examples of mammals who make use of detachable appendages. Check out this porcupine. This little fella is covered head to toe in fur. Or is he? Porcupine quills are attached loosely to the skin by thin ligaments. Upon making contact with an assailant, the animal contracts muscles in its back, stiffening the quills and allowing them to snap off effortlessly. These quills are individual piercing agents attached weakly to the back of a larger creature, emulating the appearance of the substance the rest of the animal is covered in. Does this sound familiar? So, given that prominent spinal column, we can reasonably assume that Mon3tr is indeed a vertebrate. Mammals, of course, are associated chiefly with live birth, with a few distinct exceptions. Monotremes, such as echidnas and platypuses, are well known for both laying eggs and producing milk. The most prominent defining feature of the mammalian class is, of course, body hair. All mammals have some element of fluff, be it a few flaky strands or a majestic mane. Unfortunately, it's not immediately clear whether Mon3tr has any. If she does, it'll have to be very minimal, likely akin to a rhinoceros or hippopotamus. The fact is, we don't know, and it's a bit of a dead end for us, so let's eliminate a few more obvious candidates. Dude, I think you're overthinking this. Shut up! Birds have hollow bones to help keep them airborne after liftoff. Mon3tr is made of a dense black mineral, and so I'm going to make the assumptional statement that Mon3tr is not, in fact, a bird. Another easy elimination is fish. I don't think I need to explain this one, but she breathes air and doesn't have gills. Not a fish. Which means we're down to 3 potential classes: mammal, reptile, and amphibian. Let's start at the back. Amphibians possess thin, smooth skin that allows for cutaneous respiration, or breathing through the skin. The only order of amphibians that do wear scales are caecilians, worm-like tropical burrowing animals.
That's a penis!
However, caecilians also have slimy skin, as do many amphibians, to support their unique manner of breathing. Mon3tr is described specifically as being hard and cold, and appears to be a scaled animal, so go ahead and toss amphibians in the amphibi bin. Oh, that was bad. Forget I made that joke. And now we're back to the final two. Given her scales, you might be inclined to lean towards reptile here, but some mammals actually do have scales, such as the pangolin, which by the way are critically endangered due to poaching. Sad world we live in. But you know what else pangolins have, along with every other mammal ever? Titties. Well, nipples. Either way, Mon3tr doesn't appear to have them, and that's what we call a dead giveaway. If she's not a mammal, then it looks like we've got ourselves a reptile on our hands. Probably. Again, there's no real way to officially verify that, but given what we do and don't have here, let's run on the assumption that Mon3tr is at least primarily reptilian. And that should give us our answer of if Mon3tr lays eggs. Or at least it would if anything were ever allowed to be easy. While reptiles are often associated with laying shelled eggs, some reproduce via a process known as viviparity, where an egg is conceived, fertilized, and hatched all within the mother's body, functionally emulating live birth. Unfortunately, it's not exactly intuitive as to which animals employ this technique, as it varies species by species. For instance, most snakes in the boa and viper families are ovoviviparous, while cobras and pythons are known to lay clutches of leathery shelled eggs. Some lizards also give live birth. It is worth noting that of the three types of reptiles, only lepidosaurs are capable of supporting this. Mon3tr is described as appearing lizard-like, which unfortunately doesn't help narrow anything down since lizards are categorized as lepidosaurs. With that being said, however, viviparous lizards are relatively rare. Only a few known species exist to our current knowledge: skinks, night lizards, Jackson's chameleon, and the creatively named viviparous lizard. Very original, taxonomists. Now, at this point, we could really just throw in the towel. If we said that Mon3tr was one of the thousands of other lizard species out there that do lay eggs, we'd have a 99% chance of being correct, but fuck that, we're doing this right or not at all. Okay, I choose the latter. Can we do the second option, please? No. Mon3tr is not a chameleon. This is another one I don't think I have to explain because chameleons are goddamn freaks. Freaky onion bulb eyeballs, freaky glue trap tongue torpedoes, freaky chromatic scales, and the species we care about here also happens to have triceratops horns. These are all traits Mon3tr doesn't ever exhibit in any fashion. Skinks are identifiable via their long whip-like tails which can grow to double their length, which fits Mon3tr pretty well actually. But smooth scales are also a defining feature and that's less promising. So no chameleon and no skink. Next up, night lizard. These fellas are also pretty easy to eliminate because they too are so That leaves us with viviparous lizards, which is annoying because they're very difficult to remove as candidates. Viviparous lizards are most easily identified by their climate. As the northernmost reptile on Earth, they possess incredible natural resistance. Maybe not nearly as much as nightingale, but close. These lizards can actually freeze completely solid, thaw out months later, and then just walk it off. We obviously have no idea if that's anywhere near Mon3tr's ballpark, so thank God we don't have to. Viviparous lizards come in a wide array of colors, including black. However, females can only exhibit three possible polymorphized forms: yellow, orange, or swirl. Yellow and orange are two colors that are notably not black or green and thus not applicable to Mon3tr, which means that Mon3tr cannot possibly be a viviparous reptile. Assuming Terra has the exact same ecology as Earth, which it doesn't because I for one have never bumped into a seaborn in the Pacific Ocean. Well, the ocean's a big place. What about the cat girls? Comic-Con. Okay, what about this thing? Hey, could you please shut the fuck up? You're kinda cramping my style here. Well, it's not my fault, you're a fucking moron. And now that we know that Mon3tr is for sure not a viviparous reptile, the next step is finding out what the hell she is. This is so pointless. Mon3tr's most defining trait is pretty inarguably her spines, which means linking her to a real-world animal is actually pretty darn easy, since there just so happens to be a genus of lizard called Scaleparus, or spiny lizard. But as it turns out, most of these spiny lizards seem to lack their titular spines. Another glowing win for taxonomy. But you may have noticed that I said most, not all. Say hello to the thorny devil, or thorny dragon, or thorn dragon. It doesn't matter, they all work because look at those spikes, baby. Native to Australia, because fucking of course they are, the disrespectfully named Moloch horridus is a desert lizard that comes in all kinds of shades, including yellow, brown, black, and green. Covered in conical protective spikes, the thorny devil gives off the appearance of a rose bush, only without the roses. Or the leaves. Yes, this particular lizard doesn't have insectoid mandibles, but none do, and the thorny devil does have two protruding horns above its eyes that look vaguely similar. Oh, so now we're getting liberal with these comparisons. I put you into this video, I can take you out. Point taken. Most important of all, the thorny devil lays eggs. So there you have it. Mon3tr does lay eggs, and absolutely nothing can refute this truth. Why is the video still going? And here's the part where we're forced to come to the sad realization that eggs might be off the table after all. Because not only is Mon3tr not a thorny devil, she's not even an animal. Mon3tr is an entity that was developed in a lab. She is an inorganic predecessor lifeform like Dokta and cow tits. Now, being bionic doesn't inherently guarantee she can't reproduce, but it's not likely. Sterility is rather common in inorganic constructions because, as it turns out, it's really hard to create life from scratch, which is shocking, I know. And on top of that, if we did develop the ability to do so, there would no longer be a point in instituting natural reproduction, since we could basically just clone what we already have and call it a day. So what you're saying here is that this video has accomplished literally nothing. Yep. Is this really a surprise to you? And Mon3tr being unable to reproduce is actually extra bad because even if she couldn't lay eggs, I knew I could at least take solace in the fact that she could produce milk, meaning a Mon3tr milkshake would always be within reach. But if Mon3tr is unable to reproduce in her crystalline form and that infertility translates over to her Terran form, we might have to come to terms with the fact that Mon3tr cannot produce any ingredients at all, and I finally heard myself out loud. What the hell is this video? What am I doing? Nah, whatever, it's almost over. If no have omelet, me want milkshake. Realistically, Mon3tr's ability to produce breast milk hinges on her ability to have children, and the only way we can confidently know if that's biologically attainable for her is by getting her pregnant. For science!